ASIO's Director General Mike Burgess is under increasing pressure to reveal which former politician betrayed the nation by working with an international spy network. Let's go live to Georgia Simpson. Georgia, let's start with, from the outset, why are these calls being made for the person to be named and shamed?
Well, Kieran, there's concerns that it smears all former politicians unfairly. There has been mounting calls, particularly among the coalition ranks, to expose this person. Peter Dutton has backed these calls, along with Shadow Foreign Affairs Minister Simon Birmingham.
The Home Affairs Minister should make a statement to the House, providing as much detail as is possible to provide clarity around this and to avoid that type of smear against all former politicians.
Director General Mike Burgess yesterday revealed the activities that a spy network known as the A-Team have been undertaking. The A-Team stands for the Australia Team, and Mr Burgess detailed how this former politician was involved. Essentially, this network posed online pretending to be consultants, company directors and researchers, claiming to work for fictional companies to try and trick their targets into providing sensitive information. Mr Burgess says this former politician has betrayed his country. He provided information about the inner workings of his party, former colleagues. He also tried to recruit a family member of a Prime Minister. Now, Richard Marles has dismissed the calls to name this politician, while Tanya Plibersek has said it only highlights the risk people in public life face. She also detailed how she has reported individuals to ASIO.
I don't know the facts which underpin the scenario that Mike Burgess has outlined, and I think for good reason. Those facts are being kept confidential.
The point is to give a public warning that this is a risk for people in public life, that they may be approached. You know, if someone's kind of reaching out the hand of friendship, you've got to sometimes wonder why. Of course, there have been times when I've been suspicious of people's motives and I've shut it down.
For the third year in a row, Mr Burgess has detailed how foreign interference and espionage was more of a concern than terrorism. Kieran.
Georgia, thank you. Let's get some further reaction and analysis. Let's bring in Political Editor Andrew Clennell. And a lot of interest here in the Parliament, a lot of reaction among those now out of the Parliament as well to this story.
Well, I think this is pretty outrageous, the Director General of ASIO throwing this out there and not saying who it is. And I note they've had these foreign interference, this legislation since 2018, and only one individual has been successfully prosecuted in that 6-year period. Now, people obviously will think this pertains to one particular former Labor individual who was a parliamentarian who was associating with a Chinese businessman. And I have contacted that individual this morning, and that person believes 100% this does not pertain to him, but does not want to comment in relation to this. But the risk here is obvious. You end up smearing all ex-politicians. If you're going to throw this out there, you really need to say who it is. And people go on about corruption commissions. Well, at least evidence is presented there. Accusations are made in a quasi-courtroom. This is a briefing by an ASIO Director General where he's smeared all ex-politicians, and one or two in particular will be suspects. So why say it at all if you're not going to detail it? Well, I share the view here of Joe Hockey, our former Treasurer, and our former ambassador to the US, who has been interviewed by Kieran. We'll play that interview for you at noon. Have a listen to this.
If someone has been a traitor, I can't think of a more significant issue when it comes to national security. And of course, he should say immediately who it is, not simply come out of the shadows, say there was a politician and then go back to the shadows and leave everyone else wondering who the hell it was.
Now, it's not only him, it's the opposition leader, Peter Dutton. He was on with Ray Hadley on 2GB a short time ago, and he too said that Mike Burgess, who he respects, has not said enough about this case to clear everyone else.
Mike Burgess is as good as they get. He's a great head of the ASIO and a first-class operator. I think, though, in this circumstance, it's pretty rough to essentially besmirch former politicians when he's talking about one. And the trouble is, if he doesn't indicate the name, then there's a cloud hanging over everybody else. I would add to your criteria, maybe from New South Wales. If you're putting that detail out there, as Mr Burgess has done, then I think it's incumbent to either give a little bit more criteria or a little bit more of a hint as to who the person might be, because I think it is unfair on a lot of former MPs. And if there's one that they've identified who's not, then frankly that person should be outed and shamed.
And there's a political inconvenience for the government here too, Kieran. We are 2 days away from a very tight by-election, and everyone is going to think, because of this statement from the ASIO boss and because of, I guess, previous news stories on the issue, that this involves China, obviously, and it involves a Labor identity. So it brings up those images of Labor people perceived to be too close to a strategic rival, as a polite way of doing it. And so I think it's a really intriguing and odd thing that the ASIO Director General has done here. And the politicians have parliamentary privilege. They don't perhaps have the defamation risk that Mike Burgess does. So can the government today in question time say who this is?
Andrew,
if they have confidence in their ASIO Director General and they believe his allegations, he is a public servant after all, they should name the individual concerned.
And it's not the first time the ASIO boss has mentioned politicians. Andrew, thank you very much for that.